Hi Debbie, this is my new idea, is that when you have time during the day, if you need some distraction, you can have story time. I will be reading something that I like, and hopefully it'll encourage you, if not give you something else to do during your day. And we're outside my bedroom, and here's beautiful Thai forest here. And this idea um, is because, as you can imagine, it's hard to find things that are inspirational and yet real. And as I wrote a couple different times, it's a struggle to not stay angry about your situation. At least it's been for me. And I've been surprised at how frustrating and personal it all is when I want God to do something very different. And I've spent quite a bit of time arguing with Him about how He's doing this or not doing it. And yet that just is exhausting for me, because it feels like you're just spinning your wheels, because I can't be angry at the person who gives me comfort as well. And so heart wrenching and stomach turning and all these things. So I realized, it was while I was in the car driving to our last thing this weekend, and the person driving had praise music going the whole time, and that's been some of the hardest stuff to listen to, because you just find all these reasons to argue with the music about how it's not true what they're saying. And yet, at one point, I realized, you know what? I think it is okay to be angry. I think it is okay to call this a bad thing, and that fighting God does not help whatever He's going to do or can do in the situation. And to find a place to join Him in the fight for all this is a better position than just, kicking his shins all the time. And that felt better. That said, I could go to a different place with this, not trying to transfer the anger to thankfulness. I can't be thankful. I can be thankful for other things, but I do think I want to be fighting for you. I want to be swinging the sword for you against this thing. And that gave me more peace. And yet it wasn't until I opened my Amy Carmichael book that I started reading some of the things she said. And it reminded me of when I first moved to Thailand, and I couldn't find any kind of inspiration that seemed to settle with the significance of what I had just chosen to do with my life, which is sort of leave everything and come over here. And all the other Christian authors were writing things that just seemed so superficial. But when I read her stuff, that was, be a warrior in the battle and the fight, and not that I'm a military person, but it just was solid. It was solid stuff. And so I picked this up again. It's an old book. Look, it's very old. It says Gold Cord in there, a little postcard. Somebody sent this to me. And anyway, her writing has always been just pure substance for me. And so as I read it, I thought, I could agree with the things that she's saying. And so I thought, I'll read that for Debbie in the mornings, and you can enjoy it or you can skip it, whatever. And I love you. The dogs are barking, and the monkeys are jumping on the monkey. We have two, and here, I don't know if you can see him. There's Kid's cage, and we have another monkey, Winnie. It's Peter's monkey. She's someplace else right now because they put her out because she's nice and people can play with her, and that's nice, sort of. Okay, so anyway, this is Gold Cord by Amy Carmichael, and it's a story of hair fellowship, and it was written a long time ago. It was first published in 1932. It's a long time ago. And the last edition was 47. And so there's lots of fun quotes in here as well. And people I don't know, but they're old British people that she knew, I guess. And some of them is inspiration. And so this is the first quote. It says, Antony is speaking. The vision of the holy ones is not fraught with distraction, for they will not strive, nor cry, nor shall anyone hear their voice. But it comes so quietly and gently that immediately joy, gladness, and courage arise in the soul. For the Lord, who is our joy, is with them, and the power of God the Father. And the thoughts of the soul remain unruffled and undisturbed, so that it, enlightened as it were by rays, beholds by itself those who appear. Whenever ye ... are afraid, your fear is immediately taken away, and in place of it comes joy unspeakable, cheerfulness, courage, renewed strength, calmness of thought. From Saint Athanasius, from the book Life of Saint Anthony, 4th century. And this is one of the poems that I have recited forever. One of my favorite all-time poems. It says, from prayer that asked that I should be sheltered from wings that beat on thee, from fearing when I should aspire, from faltering when I should climb higher, from silken self, O captain, free the soldier who would follow thee, from subtle love of softening things, from easy choices, weakenings. Not thus our spirits fortified, not this way went the crucified. From all that dims thy Calvary, O Lamb of God, deliver me. Give me the love that leads the way, the faith that nothing can dismay, the hope no disappointments tire, the passion that will burn like fire. Let me not sink to be a clod. Make me thy fuel, O flame of God. All right, chapter 1. Gold, silver, and precious stones. On a hot September day in 1918, some happy Indian children set out to trace their mountain river to its source. After the rains in June and in October, the river is a glory of rushing water pouring down a deep ravine. But in a dry, burnt-up September, it is shallow and, from below, bare boulders as big as cottages look like the steps of a giant staircase. It would be easy, we thought, to find the source. It was a joyful, though scorching climb. Sometimes the shadowy forest on either side drew back a little, and there were open, sunny bays where the people of the woods come down to drink. Often the moist ground near the water was pitted with tiny hoof prints, and once there was the more exciting spoor of tiger. Perhaps even now they are watching us, seeing everything we do, whispered the children, and they were aware of delicious shivers and hesitations. It was thrilling to think that the forest was full of eyes, and they quite near and watchful. But never the tip of a tail was seen that day. The birds warned the monkey people, and the monkey people warned other people long before the queer blue creatures crawling up the riverbed approached. Only the brave Malabar thrush, who whistles like a schoolboy trying to find a lost tune, waited till the curious blue appeared over the top of a boulder. Then, with a sharp cry of surprise or disapproval, he flew off. The children found new delights. Fairy falls and fairy pools and caves and dear growing things, great ferns and cushions of moss, but the source they did not find. A tree had crashed through the forest just where the banks were too steep to climb and the undergrowth was too entangled to penetrate. The trunk was covered with orchids, and it was a beautiful thing, but it barred the way. Below it was a deep, clear pool. The children knew that, far beyond, above the fringes of the forest, the real source must lie, and out under the sky in a lonely lovingness, with only the wind and the whispering rushes and the marsh flowers to tell it of the ways of the world below. But they could not go up there. We have been asked to tell the beginning of our fellowship, why it shaped as it did, and how it came to be a little thing committed to the hand of God. We cannot go back to the beginning, so we begin at the pool below the tree that leans across the river. It was a dull Sunday morning in a street in Belfast, 33 years before the day when the children climbed their mountain stream. My brothers and sisters and I were returning with our mother from church when we met a poor, pathetic old woman who was carrying a heavy bundle. We had never seen such a thing in Presbyterian Belfast on Sunday, and, moved by the sudden pity, my brothers and I turned with her, relieved her of her bundle, took her by the arms as though they had been handles, and helped her along. This meant facing the respectable people who were like ourselves on their way home. It was a horrid moment. We were only 2 boys and a girl, and not at all exalted Christians. We hated doing it. Crimson all over, at least we felt crimson, soul and body of us. We plodded on, a wet wind blowing us about, and blowing too the rags of that poor old woman, till she seemed like a bundle of feathers, and we were unhappily mixed up with them. But just as we passed a fountain recently built near the curbstone, this mighty phrase was suddenly flashed, as it were through the gray drizzle. Gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, stubble. Every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, ... If any man's work abide. I turned to see the voice that spoke with me. The fountain, the muddy street, the people with their politely surprised faces, all this I saw, but saw nothing else. The blinding flash had come and gone. The ordinary was all about us. We went on. I said nothing to anyone, but I knew that something had happened that had changed life's values. Nothing could ever matter again but the things that were eternal. From this pool flowed the stream that is the story. There are so many stories already in the world, and so many are splendid and great, that it is difficult to believe it can be worth the telling. But if only I can tell it under direction, it will carry at least one quality of clear running water: sincerity. Okay, that's all for right now. Love you.